And we're live. Aha, it says you're live. Hello, folks out there on YouTube. How you doing? It's Doc Sloan here. Just popped on a wee moment early just to make sure everything's working okay, as usual. We have green for the sound machine. Looks like we've got picture okay. All of this stuff shut down. Should be so no interference. So if anybody's out there, say hello. There's 10 o'clock, in fact, folks. So I will say hello. Everybody out there, my name is Doc Sloan. Thank you very much for joining me, and welcome to my science fiction station, also known as the Doghouse. And tonight we're going to be looking at chapter 40 of Children of Dune. It's going to be, I think, a quick little chapter. Pardon me. In the sense that there's not too much for us to look like. It's kind of driving, I suppose, in one sense, the intrigue and the potential action down the road a little bit. I've called this one, I can't remember, what did I call it? Three Murderous Ladies of Royal House Atreides. I think it was what I've called this chapter. And it's an interesting little chapter in terms of the politicking that's going ahead, the different plans that are moving throughout the narrative. And here we get to see other threads. We have Ghanima operating on what she wants to do here, very much so, against the ideas of Alia and Irulan. At the same time, we've got Alia's plans in place here. And all the while, I suppose, trying to hide the fact that the Baron, pardon me, the Baron Harkonnen is within her. And we also get to see a little bit of Irulan here in this chapter. Generally, I suppose the interesting thing is Ghanima would seem to have a legitimate reason for behaving this way, but of course we know it's not legitimate. It's actually a form of self-delusion that she's operating under. But it's definitely a very Machiavellian little chapter, and it moves quite quick, I think. And I think it's interesting in how it paints the three different women. We'll say, because we have to remember, as Ghanima would tell us, that she's not a child. But how these three different women act in relation to the intriguing here that's going on, you know. There's Carlos Cosella saying, "Hey Doc, how you doing, Carlos? Hope thanks very much for joining us. I hope you're keeping well." And there's Julian Thompson saying, "Hey ho Doc, hiya Julian, how are you? Hope you are all keeping well." It's a miserable old day and night here. We've been waiting for it to kick off with thunder and lightning, but it's been raining every kind of rain you can think of here today. The sky is electrostatic, you know. It's just that grey that's really hard to look at, and everything else, you keep your eyes down the ground, everything else is so lush today. It's just been a day for the house. It's been horrible, but I hope you are keeping well. The weather's not too bad and life's not treating you too badly. I know it's a bit crazy in the world at the minute. It's a bit crazy here as well. But yeah, thanks very much for joining us, guys. I've been doing, before we get going, I suppose, housekeeping a little bit. I've been doing a little bit of work on the identity of harem that we were having a chat about last time. We've got a few different candidates, and I've found something out. I don't know how to put it, actually. I don't know whether to discuss it or not tonight. I think we're going to leave it maybe to the next time we see Leto. We'll keep it for that, which I think is the next chapter. Isn't it? It is. So what we'll do is we'll keep it, and I'm going to keep investigating. But it's possible, in terms of who is this individual that we're talking about here within this book. It's possible that we've got more than one individual. That there may be a continuity. I'm saying this, and I'm hoping I'm wrong, but there might be a continuity error between Children of Dune and God Emperor of Dune, as into the identity of the ancestor that Leto has chosen. So that's I found some interesting stuff. We'll maybe have a wee bit of a matter about it later on, but I've by no means finished my searching, if you see what I mean. I have ruled out a couple of things. Pardon me, which is usually the way it goes. You tend to wipe things out and delete them, etc., before you tend to find something more positive to work with. But so yeah, at this point, I think I've got four different candidates to look at. but I kind of actually have an absolute identity for this individual from a different book. And I have, as I said, I've done a wee bit of work on it before, and I thought it was a particular person. So it's going to be interesting to see how that folds out. Um, yeah, and who is Harem? Who is this individual that we're talking about? That without him, the God Emperor, the future cannot happen. So there we go. Just a wee bit of. I've been doing some work, and yeah, some things aren't quite lining up, so it's going to require more work, basically. But there we go. So I'll start off with our epigraph, folks. As usual, if anybody's got any wee comments or questions, I expect this one to go pretty quickly. To be honest with you, it's one of those. It's a dialogue-heavy chapter, and in terms of it's really driving the plot in this one potentially, setting up the tensions for a wedding, basically. Quite a murderous little chapter, I think. So I said I called it what was it? The Murderous Ladies of the Royal House Atreides. Another title for this would be I was going to go with the Ministry. How to suck seed and how to suck eggs. Which you'll maybe see why, but there we go. So our epigraph is one of our songs, as usual. It's the Song of Muad'Dib, and this one's got a bit more of a to it than most of Frank's little ditties. So, O Paul, thy Muad'Dib, Madi of all men, thy breath exhaled, sent forth the hurricane. Mm, there we go. Here's what I'm thinking on. Bear with me a wee second. Who am I thinking of? John Lewison. If anybody doesn't know who I'm talking about, sometimes that one there reminds me of one of the poems of John Lewison, of course, England's greatest one-armed poet. There we go. There's Chaya Rivka says, Shalom all. Shalom, Chaya. Thank you very much for joining us. As always, I hope you're keeping well. We're just getting started. We were just started with the epigraph there. So I think I was joking the other week actually that I think there's a wee YouTube channel as it does it riff, but you could get a tune out of this one. I think you could rock it. Pardon me. So Paul, thy Muad'Dib, Mary of all men, thy breath exhaled, sent forth the hurricane. And again, hurricanes, typhoons, struggles, divine winds, this kind of thing, storms, that which is bad often, I suppose, has a kind of weathery type feature to it, So here we go. I think this is I like this chapter. Very much following on the next one, we go from one twin to the other, and we'll jump back to Leto following this chapter. Not tonight, but in our next episode. So let me just put that. Sorry, get my book there, and here we go. Right. So this is Ghanima. Never, Ghanima said. I'd kill him on our wedding night. She spoke with a barbed stubbornness which thus far resisted all blandishments. Alia and her advisers had been at it half the night, keeping the royal quarters in a state of unrest, sending out for new advisers for food and drink. The entire temple and its adjoining keep seethed with the frustrations of unmade decisions. Ghanima sat composedly on a green floater chair. In her own quarters, a large room with rough tan walls to simulate siege rock, the ceiling, however, was amber crystal, which flickered with blue light, and the floor was black tile. The furnishings were sparse: a small writing table, 5 floater chairs, and a narrow cot set into an alcove Fremen fashion. Ghanima wore a robe of yellow mourning. Now, I just thought some of the colours that we're getting here, etc., kind of mirror the previous chapter, I think. Well, of course, with Leto and his injection of the water of life. But we have this blue light here. It's almost if you think you could do a transition between the two. Pardon me. And we're told that she's wearing a robe of yellow mourning. So this is Alia speaking here. You're not a free person who can settle every aspect of her own life, Alia said, for perhaps the 100th time. And then we get Alia's thoughts here. The little fool must come to realize this sooner or later. She must approve the betrothal to Farad'n. She must. Let her kill him later. But the betrothal requires open acknowledgement by the Fremen affianced. If I'm pronouncing that, affianced correctly. Again, we do kind of get a mirror. We've talked about before how Frank does his writing with Jungian mandalas and pairing up, characters against, different sides of this wheel, if you like. We kind of have a triumvirate in the previous chapters with Leto, Gurney, and Namri. And in this chapter, we've got the same sort of thing. We have a little triumvirate of Ghanima, Irulan, and Alia. So we also got, in this case, it's Alia referring to Ghanima as a fool, but previously we have Leto thinking, that the others are fools. So it's the language again, and the fool is one of our character archetypes, if you like. Julian Thompson saying, "Love seeing Irulan in any capacity." Yeah, I think she's, I think she's quite interesting in this chapter. I think she's funny, and I think she's a little bit out of her league here, and she's almost testing waters, if you see what I mean, a little bit, with how would we put it? I suppose creatures who are a lot more dangerous than her. Irulan is pretty dangerous politically, though, I think. Certainly, we've seen that previously, and something I was actually going to bring up actually in a little bit, but certainly with what happened to Chani and Dune Messiah, So basically, Alia, doesn't care if she kills him. It's where the dark humor I think in this chapter comes from. As long as she gets the betrothal, as long as she gets the wedding. So he killed my brother, Ghanima said, holding to the single note which sustained her. Everyone knows this. Fremen would spit at the mention of my name were I to consent to this betrothal. And we get Alia's thoughts here. And that is one of the reasons why you must consent. Oh, sorry. Alia thought. She said, his mother did it. He has banished her for it. What more do you want of him? His blood, Ghanima said. He's a Corino. He has denounced his own mother, Alia protested. And why should you worry about the Fremen rabble? They'll accept whatever we tell them to accept, Ghani. The peace of the Empire demands that. And she's cut off by Ghanima here. I will not consent, Ghanima said. You cannot announce the betrothal without me. Now, as we get going with this, the language here, in relation to, I suppose, just how Alia's language compared to Ghanima's in relation to the Fremen, is that the Fremen are a rabble here, and that she's a fool. And we're going to see, in contrast to that, what Ghanima thinks of the Fremen and how her behavior, I suppose, here is being dictated by Fremen principles, really, I think. And of course, we know that Leto's not dead. She's certainly not playing a role. She's under some kind of hypnotic suggestion, which she's placed upon herself to believe that Leto is dead. So the Fremen would spit at the mention of my name were I to consent to this betrothal. And that is one of the reasons why you must consent, Alia thought. In other words, yes, it's going to diminish her politically. It would ruin her reputation amongst the Fremen. And Alia knows this. But again, the way out is his mother did it. He was banished for it. What more do you want of him? And Ghanima says his blood. He's a Corino. I think she would still want I would think she would still want when Sissy's blood. To be honest, I wouldn't really consider banishment satisfying, I think. I don't think Ghanima would. But I will not consent, Ghanima said. You cannot announce the betrothal without me. And here is the problem then. So we have Irulan entering the room as Ghanima spoke, glanced inquiringly at Alia and the two female advisors who stood dejectedly beside her. Irulan saw Alia throw up her arms in disgust and drop into a chair facing Ghanima. You speak to her, Irulan, Alia said. Irulan pulled up a floater into place, sat down beside Alia. You're a Corino, Irulan, Ghanima said. Don't press your luck with me. Ghanima got up, crossed to her cot, and sat on it, cross-legged, glaring back at the women. Irulan, she saw, had dressed in a black abba to match Alia's, the hood thrown back to reveal her golden hair. It was morning hair, under the yellow glow of the floating globes, which illuminated the room. Irulan glanced at Alia, stood up and crossed to stand facing Ghanima. Ghani, I'd kill him myself if that were the way to solve matters. And Farad'n's my own blood, as you so kindly emphasized. But you have duties far higher than your commitment to the Fremen. Now, that's pretty interesting. Just as I said, the thing that I called this chapter was the murderous ladies of the Royal House of Atreides. So, pardon me, we have Ghanima with her extreme desire to kill Farad'n here. No matter what, she wants to murder this guy and enjoy doing it, I think. We have Alia, who doesn't give a monkey's, basically, that if Ghanima kills him, as long as she does it after they get married. And now we have Irulan jumping in with, this is her cousin or her nephew, isn't it? Sorry. I'd happily kill him if it would sort things out. And Farad'n's my own blood, as you so kindly emphasized. But you have duties far higher than your commitment to the Fremen. That's the other interesting part here. Irulan and I suppose when I was thinking about the previous chapter and how Frank does these kind of mandala things and pairs up characters or even lines them up in triplets, this kind of thing. We have the separation of gender here, if you like. We have all male characters in the previous chapter, all female characters here. And how would I put it? Yes, there also seems to be a separation within the two groups of Fremen thinking and Imperial thinking, if you like. And in this one, very much, it's Ghanima who's thinking like a Fremen, Irulan and Alia playing the Imperial game. And we get that kind of similar kind of thing working in the previous chapter. Carl also saying Ghani is Fremen, Alia isn't. And yeah, it's interesting. But the other thing is that what's strange to me about this is that both Ghanima, or sorry, not Ghanima, both Irulan and Alia really don't seem to understand that their power base is based on the Fremen. Desert power is Fremen power, isn't it? Really. So the contempt for the Fremen here from Alia, the rabble, as she's called them, and at the same time, perhaps the political ignorance or naivety of Irulan. You've duties far higher than your commitment to the Fremen. I would say that the Atreides' commitment to the Fremen is paramount to their ability to rule. So it's interesting the way we get this presented here by Frank, and just the way the chapters are running at the minute. Pardon me, but the different type of thinking amongst the characters, And kind of saying, Ghani's Fremen, Alia isn't. China saying, mine has your commitment to Fremen, not the Fremen. Here we go. Yeah, I think they'll have a few mistakes in this one. Let me just check out commitment. Yours has your commitment to Fremen. Let me see. Right, that's number 12. Bear with me a second. Thank you, Chaya. All right. But you have duties far higher than your commitment to Fremen. Oh, that's me that's done that. That's my mistake, Chaya. Thank you. Apologies. There is no the on your commitment to Fremen. Something, yeah, there's a dot there, isn't it? There's Fremen something. But again, it's cut off. 12, all right. Yeah. So just in terms of the character of the three women, they're all happy to do a bit of murdering here. And Irulan's kind of statement isn't really going to make anything better here, is it? It's I'd happily kill him myself if it would solve things, you know. And that kind of okay. So it's just kind of it puts a bit of a opens your eyes a little bit maybe to the three women's characters, if you like. So Ghanima's response to this is that doesn't sound any better coming from you than it does from my precious aunt. Ghanima said, "The blood of a brother cannot be washed off. That's more than some little aphorism." Irulan pressed her lips together. Then, "Farad'n holds your grandmother captive. He holds Duncan, and if we don't, I'm not satisfied with your stories of how all this happened," Ghanima said, peering past Irulan at Alia. "Once Duncan died rather than let enemies take my father. Perhaps this new goal of flesh is no longer the same as." And I think this is quite provocative. This again got cut off here, this time by Alia. "Duncan was charged with protecting your grandmother's life," Alia said, whirling in her chair. "I'm confident he chose the only way to do that." And she thought, Duncan, Duncan, you weren't supposed to do it this way. Ghanima, reading the overtones of contrivance in Alia's voice, stared across at her aunt. "You're lying, O womb of heaven. I've heard about your fight with my grandmother. What is it you fear to tell us about her and your precious Duncan?" "You've heard it all," Alia said, but she felt a stab of fear at this bald accusation and what it implied. I was wondering, was that a bold accusation? Possibly, but it could be a bald one as well. um, Fatigue had made her careless, she realized. She arose and said, "Everything I know, you know." Turning to Irulan, "You work on her. She must be made to." And Ghanima interrupted with a coarse Fremen expletive which came shockingly from the immature lips. Into the quick silence she said, "You think me a mere child, that you have years in which to work on me, that eventually I'll accept. Think again, O heavenly regent. You know better than anyone the years I have within me. I'll listen to them, not to you." Alia barely suppressed an angry retort, stared hard at Ghanima, and her thoughts are here abomination. So I think we have Ghanima provoking Alia here with this little comment about Duncan. And also that I don't believe the story that you've got going, that my grandmother's a captive at this point. And I think her responses here, her little sort of pokes and jabs at Alia are dripping with how would we put it? Politeness, polite sarcasm. The labels that she's giving Alia here, my precious aunt. What else have we got? Oh, womb of heaven. Oh, heavenly regent. It's that kind of politeness that when someone really is just not being, polite at all, they're being quite nasty. I suppose their intent is quite clear, but it's the politeness that shows their hostility. If you see what I mean, I would be like that. If I'm being hostile to somebody, I'll be overly polite, I think. In a very, very particular tone. Excuse me, folks. I'll just get a wee sip there. Julian saying this is also the Atreides and Carinos hashing out details of their eventual union as houses. Farad'n and Ghani will partner. It's fairly inevitable knowing what we know. Some little Fremen aphorism. Chaya says, I'm bald. Thank you very much. Yeah, it could be either. I thought it could be bold, could be. Where's the aphorism one? Let me just see. It's more than some little. Oh, you've got. Hang on, let me see. That might be me again. Thank you. Where are we? Aphorisms. 13. Yeah, that's my fault again. Must have been me. I did all my notes in one day this week. Fremen aphorism. Thank you very much, Chai. You're keeping me right. It is indeed. That's more than some little Fremen aphorism. Thank you. It's 2 for 2. It'd be me this week. Actually, oddly enough, I was about to say something about it. That let me see. What was it actually? It was to do with fatigue, wasn't it? My problem. Let me see. Oh, sorry, we're not there yet. Bear with me a second. Yes. So, Ali, what is it you fear to tell us? Ali's provoking the issue. I thought, here, if you see what I mean. You've heard it all, Ali said, but she felt a stab of fear at this bold accusation and what it implied. Fatigue had made her careless, she realized. She arose and said, everything I know, you know. It was the fatigue bit there, I think. Fatigue is a wee bit more than going, where you're not just not sleeping, if you see what I mean. It's where you've been doing it for quite some time and it starts to have a cumulative effect on you. And I was wondering, is this to do, the fatigue bit, just this mention of it, and why would we mention it? Is that to do with the Baron occupying her unwaking hours, if you like? That's what I thought. Charovka sounds more like sarcastic disdain to me. Of course, expletives aren't polite. Well, we don't get to hear those, do we? Which I think is fun. Whatever they were, yes, indeed. I think is it sad? I think we do have a shit and a fuck in the Dune film. Those those Fremen expletives that we're all familiar with. I thought that was a bit sad to hear those in the movie, especially when it's meant to be a 12. Not really sure what these certificates mean for movies anymore. Excuse me. There we go. So, abomination. Who was this child? A new fear of Ghanima began to rise in Alia. Had she accepted her own compromise with the lies which came to her preborn? Alia said, there's time yet for you to see reason. There may be time yet to see Farad'n's blood spurted around my knife, Ghanima said. Depend on it. If I'm ever left alone with him, one of us will surely die. And here we get an odd response from Irulan here. You think you loved your brother more than I? Irulan demanded. You play a fool's game. I was mother to him as I was to you. She's cut off here. You never knew him, Ghanima said. All of you, except at times my beloved aunt, persist in thinking us children. You're the fools. Alia knows. Look at her run away from. I run from nothing, Alia said. But she turned her back on Irulan and Ghanima and stared at the two Amazons who were pretending not to hear this argument. They'd obviously given up on Ghanima. Perhaps they sympathized with her. Angrily, Alia sent them from the room. Relief was obvious on their faces as they obeyed. You run, Ghanima persisted. Sorry, just before I go on any further with that, it was just the speech from Irulan there. You think you loved your brother more than I? Irulan demanded. You play a fool's game. I was mother to him as I was to you. I was, and of course, Ghanima cuts him off. You never knew him. And I thought it was odd and showed a little bit. I've written down here weakness of character. It's an attempt to suggest like almost one-upmanship on love here, if you know what I mean. I loved him, this kind of who loved him more. Um, and Irulan's relationship with Paul or with Leto, sorry, is I suppose one of them a bit like a stepmother. But I would imagine that both of these children, both Ghanima and Leto, at some point in their within their character, know that Irulan helped to pretty much ensure their mother died, or was a major contributing factor in their mother's death. And I think it's interesting just the way that the Irulan character works here. You play a fool's game. I was mother to him as I was to you. You never knew him. All of you, except at times my beloved aunt, persist in thinking us children. Reinforcement. We're not children. You're the fools. And again, that's that archetype that's turned back. It's not Alia. It's not Ghanima that's the fool. It's Alia and Irulan. And I thought, yeah, Alia's comment there I thought was a little bit foolish in a funny kind of way. So that you run from nothing. You run. I've chosen a way of life which suits me, Alia said, turning to stare at Ghanima, sitting cross-legged on the cot. Was it possible she'd made that terrible inner compromise? Alia tried to see the signs of it in Ghanima, but was unable to read a single betrayal. Alia wondered then, has she seen it in me? But how could she? You feared to be the window for a multitude, Ghanima accused. But we're the preborn, and we know. You'd be their window, conscious or unconscious. You cannot deny them. And she thought, yes, I know you, abomination. And perhaps I'll go as you have gone. But for now, I can only pity you and despise you. And again, we've got that, I suppose reflections, mirrors, that kind of thing within them. But we've just had Alia thinking the same thing, abominations. A few seconds later, here we have Ghanima. Yes, I know you, in her mind, abomination. And it's, again, that it's very possible, and we have that real consideration from Ghanima that she understands that I could end up the same way as Alia. Whatever's happened to her, it could happen to me. But in the meantime, I'll pity you and I'll despise you. Silence hung between Ghanima and Alia, an almost palpable thing which alerted the Bene Gesserit training in Irulan. She glanced from one to the other. Then, why are you so quiet suddenly? And we have Alia here. I've just had a thought which requires considerable reflection, Alia said. And that's a response to that, I think. Reflect at your leisure, dear aunt, Ghanima sneered. Alia, putting down fatigue-inflamed anger, said, enough for now. Leave her to think. Perhaps she'll come to her senses. Irulan arose, said, it's almost dawn anyway, Gani. Sorry, it's almost dawn anyway. Gani, before we go, would you care to hear the latest message from Farad'n? I would not, Ghanima said. And hereafter, cease calling me by that ridiculous diminutive, Gani. It merely supports the mistaken assumption that I'm a child you can... Why do you and Alia grow so suddenly quiet? Irulan asked, reverting to her previous question, but casting it now in a delicate mode of voice. She's very unsubtle here, isn't she, Irulan? Ghanima threw her head back in laughter. Irulan, you'd try voice on me? What? Irulan was taken aback. You'd teach your grandmother to suck eggs? Ghanima said. I'd what? The fact that I'd remember the expression and you've never heard it before should give you pause, Ghanima said. It was an old expression of scorn when you Bene Gesserit were young. But if that doesn't chasten you, ask yourself what your royal parents could have been thinking when they named you Irulan. Or is it Ruinal? Very good. We actually know it's Naluri backwards, isn't it? And Naluri, we find this as I can't remember, was it a Malay word? excuse me, I think it was something to do with, a person who acts on, more to do with instinct, wasn't it, I think? And I think it's also the name of Indonesian means instinct or natural tendency. It's an animal that we can trace back to Javanese, which is used in the same way in the same context in other areas, also linked to teachings of mystical Javanese literature, specifically the book Dharmagandal or Sok Dharmagandal, according to some sources. So there you go, instinct, natural tendency, or innate behavior. And in relation to Irulan's kind of character, that seemed to suit. Of course, we've got a little, here we have somebody having a bit of fun with the name, anagramming it and saying ruinal. It's also an anagram of urinal. Aha! So we didn't go there, which I thought would have been a good one. Let me just have a wee look, folks. Maybe you had time for me to see. Let me just see. Where's that? See, have I read something? I've got blah 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 blah. Bear with me a second. Let me just see. Oh, I'm trying to figure out what that bit is. Let me see. What could you that? Where is that wee bit, China? Sorry, I'm just trying to find it. You're quiet so suddenly. Sorry, I'm just. Let me time it up for me to see. Real. Oh, I can't find that, but well, maybe I'll come back to it if you can let me. Just give me a wee idea whereabouts that is. Oh, right, got it. Hang on, I found it, Chaya. Sorry. There may be time yet to see. Maybe time yet for me to see. All right, let me just check. I've got it. That's number 20. Good job we do this. Time yet for me to see. It's me again. That's 3 for 3 this week. I'm sorry. Time yet for me to see. Got it. Thank you very much. For me to see. 3 for 3. It's my fault this week, folks. Do apologise. Object Grebe said, "Hey Doc, many obs and learns, send dunks." Oh yes, indeed. Object Grebe, I was saw it in the news there. Quite sad to see, isn't it? I was just chatting to my wife there. I said a lot of people in Larne not being very happy about their leisure centre being burnt like that. You know, we've got we've got a few quite famous. I was just saying we have a few famous kind of sporty people from Larne who would have used that leisure centre. You know, the boxer Dave Boy Macaulay, I'm sure would have trained there. And who's it? We have Diane Barr, the Olympian, would have swam there. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, I used to go there. It's really sad to see. Yeah, I got a bit of mob action on the go at the minute. I think Larne, Ballymena. There was some here in Korean today, Object Grebe as well, I think, so within the last day or two. But yes, indeed. Jai saying, "So see Farad'n's blood on Ghani's knife." See Farad'n's blood. Every time you had to see. I got it, yes, indeed. Farad'n's blood on Ghani's knife. Yeah, these are my fault, actually, Chai, but thank you very much for keeping me right today. Blood spurt on around my knife. Yes, indeed. Got it fixed. Thank you very much. In fact, I should have it. I need to colour that in, actually. Grab a highlighter while I'm at it. Yes, indeed. Usually I do these notes over 2 or 3 days. I tried to get them all done one day this week, which I succeeded in, but it's obvious I've rushed it a bit and made a few mistakes. So apologies, but thank you very much. But yes, indeed, obviously, it's a bad job. So we were just looking at Los Angeles the other day and talking, oddly enough, that it looked like it reminded us on Belfast from the 1970s with the rubber bullets and stuff like that. And then it kicks off here. It's just the usual thing here. It's nothing major. It's very interesting to see the way the press are reporting an Object-Degree. And the way that the thing has been sort of put. But yeah, they're not doing anybody any favors, I think. Yeah, but yeah, pretty sad. But yeah, Ballymena. Dear, oh dear. Not altogether unexpected, to be honest with you. Let's see, where are we? Yes, I know you abomination. Pity you and despise you. Why? Oh yeah, so yeah, we basically have had this. Irulan's not figuring out what's going on between these two, and is quite sort of open about what's going on here between you two, and then basically tries to use the voice on Ghanima here, and the response, I suppose, is very funny. You teach your grandmother to suck eggs. I was just reminding me of that there the other day. I was saying it could have been a chapter title today. For anybody know the Ministry song, Psalm 69 is the way to succeed and the way to suck eggs. But it's an 18th century expression, isn't it? It's you can't teach your granny to suck eggs because your granny's been sucking eggs forever because she's got no teeth. So basically, it's don't give advice to elderly and experienced people, when you don't know much about anything. It's that kind of thing. And it's a great expression. I love it. I just suck eggs. It used to be a bit of an insult here when I was younger. You tell someone to go suck eggs, more about a kid's thing, I think. Go suck an egg. But yes, indeed. Irulan, ruinal, and as I said, I also got urinal for playing the anagram game. But yeah, it's a bold thing for Irulan to do. And it again is instinctive when we're talking about her name here. Are her actions instinctive rather than how clever? They're not too bright here. She gives herself away, and she actively uses something that could be considered a weapon against someone, on someone who's arguably a lot better at it than she is. And we're also told that those who use voice aren't that susceptible to it. And the fact that Ghanima's being so direct, Ghanima's weapon in this conversation is honesty and the truth, and forcing things out into the open, isn't it? That would otherwise be kept hidden. And and the language that Ghanima throws at Irulan has her flustered. When she's already flustered, I suppose, by the fact that the voice hasn't worked and she's been caught doing this. And I don't know. I just thought I thought it was a very interesting thing to do. I thought it was quite a stupid thing for her to do. You teach your grandmother to suck eggs. The fact that I'd remember the expression and you've never heard it before should give you pause, Ghanima said. It is an old expression of scorn when you Bene Gesserit were young. But if that doesn't chasten you, ask yourself what your royal parents could have been thinking when they named you Irulan, or is it Ruinal? Pardon me. And I believe her mother's name is Naluri, isn't that right? Must check that again. In spite of her training, which I don't know, Irulan flushed. You're trying to goad me, Ghanima. And you tried to use voice on me. On me! I remember the first human efforts in that direction. I remember then ruinous Irulan. Now get out of here, all of you. But Alia was intrigued now, caught by an inner suggestion which sloughed her fatigue aside. She said, "Perhaps I have a suggestion which could change your mind, Gani." And I've put down here that this is the Baron, isn't it? The inner suggestion that's come here. And that the fatigue gets shoved aside. Um, Again, that was just that wee thing that I thought was worth pointing out, that if if Ali is being in control of Ali, I suppose, or being her, whatever, during the day, for example, then that's when the Baron is coming out at night, this kind of thing, then she's not getting any sleep. Um, and this idea that she is fatigued, and also it kind of is backed up, I suppose, by the fact that this inner suggestion knocks that fatigue aside. It's the Baron coming forward. Um, Perhaps I have a suggestion which could change your mind, Gani. Object is, oh, it's a bad job. Hopefully, folding space out again. Yeah, well, the weather's bad tonight. Object agree, but I kind of think we're supposed to have lightning and stuff. I think, but hopefully that'll get all those people off the mob, if you like, off the streets and stuff, and let people. But they're just wrecking people's property and stuff like that. But it's not good. Yeah, if anybody's not sure, we're having some riots and stuff here in Northern Ireland at the minute. Um, which are kind of racist in origin, if you like. Well, not in origin, but they're racist in their actions, I suppose. Oh, excuse me. China and Irulan trying voice on either Gani or Alia seems odd to me. Yeah, Irulan is no match for those two. She looks foolish in the attempt. Yeah, very daft thing for her to do here, I think. She's been cast as a cautious, mediating voice of reason in this book. Now Frank writes her as out of the loop of reality. That's a good point, Chaya. Yeah, she's almost meant to be the mediator here, isn't she? Um, between Alia and Ghanima. Um, and I don't know. There's contempt for her from both women, I think. And as much as she has some kind of problem, that Ghanima probably does have some relationship with her. She is a Corino. She warns her, be careful. um, and I don't know. There's a sense that Ghanima possibly tolerate Irulan. I wonder, do they pity her as well? But yeah, a very obvious, blatant thing to do. As Ghanima said, would you teach your granny to suck eggs? What are you at? And she's flustered by the fact that she's been caught. Tries to change the subject. Oh, you're trying to goad me. No, you're using voice on me. What the hell? This kind of thing. Anna is intrigued and caught by the under suggestion, so it comes in with, here we get the suggestion still. And perhaps I have a suggestion which could change your mind, Gani. And again, deliberately, perhaps, still Gani. A brittle laugh escaped Ghanima. Then, reflect but a moment. If I desire to kill Farad'n, I need but fall in with your plans. I presume you've thought of that. Beware of Gani in a tractable mood. You see, I'm being utterly candid with you. That's what I hoped, Alia said. The blood of a brother cannot be washed away, Ghanima said. I'll not go before my Fremen loved ones, a traitor to that. Never to forgive, never to forget. Isn't that our catechism? I warn you here, and I'll say it publicly. You cannot betroth me to the Farad'n. Who, knowing me, would believe it? Farad'n himself could not believe it. Fremen, hearing of such a betrothal, would laugh into their sleeves and say, see, she lures him into a trap. I understand all that. Sorry, I understand that, Alia said, moving to Irulan's side. Irulan, she noted, was standing in shocked silence, aware already of where this conversation was headed. What did I? Was that a wee mistake there? Let me just see. I've got something circled here. Just turn the page, and I need fluids. Pardon me. Who, comma, knowing me would believe it? Question mark. Farad'n himself could not believe it. Yeah, I've got a comma there. Farad'n himself could not believe it, comma. And we've got Fremen hearing of. I think it should be a full stop. It should be a full stop. Fremen hearing of such a betrothal would laugh into the sleeves. See, she lures him into a trap. I understand that. This is the bit that shocks Irulan, who's already said I'd happily kill him if it sorted things out. So Ghanima's basically saying, for me to get what I want, for me to kill this guy, all I have to do is agree to what you want. And you know that, basically. This is where this is going. She's kind of outing the trap, in a sense, if you like, exposing it. And so I would be luring him into a trap, Ghanima said. If that's what you want, I'll agree, but he may not fall. If you wish this false betrothal as the empty coin with which to buy back my grandmother and your precious Duncan, so be it. But it's on your head. Buy them back. Farad'n, though, is mine. Him, I'll kill. Oh dear, oh dear. I'm sure I've written it down somewhere. Yeah, I've written it on the next page. But at this point, I'll just remind you that this is a 9-year-old girl that's talking like this, who's constantly reminding everybody in the room that she's not a 9-year-old girl, but she is. She isn't. She isn't. Irulan whirled to face Alia before she could speak. Alia, if we go back on our word. She let it hang there for a moment while Alia smilingly reflected on the potential wrath among the great houses in Faufreluche assembled. The destructive consequences to believe in Atreides' honour, the loss of religious trust, all of the great and small building blocks which would tumble. That didn't flow quite well there, and I do have a mistake in it. I corrected it there, but I've got Faufreluche. Let me see. Just to read it from the book. Yeah, it should be Faufreluche, of course. If you go, she let it hang there a moment while Alia smilingly reflected on the potential wrath among the great houses in Faufreluche assembled, the destructive consequences to believe in Atreides' honour, the loss of religious trust, all of the great and small building blocks which would tumble. There's something wrong there. The word Faufreluche is spelt wrong, but I think the problem is to do with the word assembled. The great houses in Faufreluche assembled or assembly. I don't know. Has anybody got anything different there? It just doesn't feel right, that part of the text there. I've got Faufreluche, so Faufrelaches. This one's definitely not me, by the way, and it should be Faufreluche. That should be a Luches, I think. But it's the word assembled after it there. It just doesn't seem right. I think the great houses in Faufreluche assembly. I think possibly the destructive consequences to believe in Atreides' honour, the loss of religious trust, all of the great and small building blocks which would tumble. So, simply put, if they do this, well, here we go. Irulan tells us in rule against us. Irulan protested. All belief in Paul's prophethood would be destroyed. The Empire. Who would dare question our right to decide what is wrong and what is right? Alia asked. Right, let me just move that over there. Oh, sorry. Let me just do that again. Who could dare question our right to decide what is wrong and what is right? Alia asked, voice mild. We mediate between good and evil. I need but proclaim. You can't do this, Irulan protested. Paul's memory is just another tool of church and state, Ghanima said. Don't speak foolishness, Irulan. Ghanima touched the crysknife at her waist, looked up at Alia. I've misjudged my clever aunt. Regret of all that's holy in Muad'Dib's empire. I have indeed misjudged you. Lure Farad'n into our parlour, if you will. Let me just reject that again. Sorry, that seems to be not quite flowing right either. Don't speak again. I'm a touch the look up. I've misjudged my regret of all that's holy in Muad'Dib's empire. Full stop. Yeah. I have indeed. Yeah, okay. I have indeed misjudged you. Lure Farad'n into our parlour, if you will. This is reckless, Irulan pleaded. You agree to this betrothal, Ghanima? Alia asked, ignoring Irulan. On my terms, Ghanima said, hands still on her crysknife. I wash my hands of this, Irulan said, actually wringing her hands. I was willing to argue for a true betrothal to heal. She's cut off. We'll give you a wound much more difficult to heal, Alia and I, Ghanima said. Bring him quickly if he'll come, and perhaps he will. Would he suspect a child of my tender years? Let us plan the formal ceremony of betrothal to require his presence. Let there be an opportunity for me to be alone with him. Just a minute or two. Irulan shuddered at this evidence that Ghanima was, after all, Fremen entire, child no different from adult in this terrible bloodiness. After all, Fremen children were accustomed to slay the wounded on the battlefield, releasing women from this chore that they might collect the bodies and haul them away to the death stills. And Ghanima, speaking with a voice of a Fremen child, piled horror upon horror by the studied maturity of her words, by the ancient sense of vendetta which hung like an aura around her. Done, Alia said, and she fought to keep voice and face from betraying her glee. We'll prepare the formal charter of betrothal. We'll have the signatures witnessed by the proper assemblage from the great houses. Farad'n cannot possibly doubt. And she's cut off. He'll doubt, but he'll come, Ghanima said. And he'll have guards. But will they think to guard him from me? Five Foolish Challenge, Five Foolish Assembly. Julian, oh, thank you very much. Let me just back up a wee bit, folks, till I get that sorted. I'll catch up with your comments. Most of Ali's thoughts seem to be the Baron's. Yes, he's appeared here, hasn't he? He's poking out. Has never been Ali's wish to destroy the Atreides. Mine has a full stop. Five Foolish Assembly. Thank you, Julian. Yeah, I figured. Let me see. Where's that in the book? That's 43. Hang on. That should be assembly. Yeah. Yeah. Assembly. Full stop. Okay. Five Foolish in mind. Thank you very much. Yeah, it is Five Foolish. Always would be. Nice to find a mistake that's not one of mine tonight. Should be a U. There we go. Right. The wee cluster of mine has a full stop. Five Foolish Assembly and Five Foolish in mind. Yes. The Barons. It's never been Ali's wish to destroy the Atreides. That's right. Carlos is saying, I think the fact that Alia underestimates Ghanima shows how much the Baron is influencing her at this point. She, of all people, should understand what she is. And it is, we have that kind of the same thoughts going back and forth. Abomination, between the two. Or, sorry, that there's not between them really, but that they're separately thinking this of the other. Yes, indeed. And again, Ghanima is speaking the truth here in this chapter. She keeps telling him, I'm not a 9-year-old. I will kill this guy. You're on you're being foolish. Don't underestimate me. I'm not what you think I am. Yeah, and again, these demonstrations from Gani that she's, the suck eggs thing, I think is quite fun. That she is a lot older, but just it's the conversation that's coming out of this 9-year-old. This is the jumping back forward to where were here, the bit that I have written at the top of the page. Uh, just to show, just to get the sense, just to remind myself that this is a murderous 9-year-old girl. Um, very murderous. I want this guy. He's mine. I'm going to kill him. There's nothing you can do about it. This guy's going to, impale himself upon my knife. It's, it's yeah. And the fact is that they're kind of opposed each other, but at the same time, what Alia wants is going to kind of give Ghanima what she wants, and she's, in a way, I think she's trying to expose her here. Irulan's shocked by this, but why is she particularly shocked? I don't know. Especially when offering up. Oh no, I do know actually. Especially when offering up that, oh, I'd happily kill him myself if it would sort all this out. Well, which is a bit harsh. Um, so they've made a pact, Ali and Ghanima here. Um, and the whole fact is that it's her youth, her innocence, that's going to be the factor that they're not going to consider when it comes to potential assassination attempts, etc. That's going to get him killed. I've also scribbled here very much just that Irulan and Ali are very much on the representing imperial interests here. Ghanem is very much a Fremen in this. For the love, this is Irulan, for the love of all that Paul tried to do, Irulan protested, let us at least make Farad'n's death appear an accident, or the result of malice by outside. I'll take joy in displaying my bloody knife to my brethren, Ghanima said. Again, the term for the Fremen here, her brethren, her brothers, um, pure Fremen. And again, Irulan trying to, well, how about we kill him in but again, it's not the killing that's the problem. Really, it's how they go about it. And simply put, if Alia does go about it this way, if this happens, well, we'll get it revealed here. It's going to bring down all sorts of problems on House Atreides. I'll take joy in displaying my bloody knife to my brethren, Ghanima said. Alia, I beg you, Irulan said, abandon this rash insanity. Declare calmly against Farad'n anything to. We don't require formal declaration of vendetta against him, Ghanima said. The whole empire knows how we must feel. She pointed to the sleeve of her robe. We wear the yellow of mourning. When I exchange it for the black of Fremen betrothed, will that fool anyone? Pray that it fools Farad'n, Alia said, and the delegates of the great houses we invite to witness that every one of those delegates will turn against you, Irulan said. You know that. Excellent point, Ghanima said. Choose those delegates with care, Alia. They must be ones we won't mind eliminating later. So I've written down here that now murder has become mass murder from the from the mouths of babes, if you like. Irulan threw up her arms in despair, turned and fled. I think that's good characterization. They're just, we've just gone basically from murdering a member of a great house to having to murder lots of members of the great houses, basically, who are going to come and witness this. And she's gone, and that's Irulan out the room. Ghanima says here, have her put under close surveillance, lest she try to warn her nephew, Ghanima said. And then we get this, don't try to teach me on how, sorry, don't try to teach me how to conduct a plot, Alia said. She turned and followed Irulan, but at a slower pace. The guards outside and the waiting aides were sucked up in her wake like sand particles drawn into the vortex of a rising worm. Ghanima shook her head sadly from side to side as the door closed and thought, "It's as poor Leto and I thought. Gods below. I wish it had been me the tiger killed instead of him." Sadness over the whole thing. And of course, I just think that's a nice little touch with Frank's writing here, that it ties in nicely with Ganima's response to Irulan. You try to teach your granny to suck eggs. This is basically another form of that statement, and this is the Baron, I think, again talking here. Don't try to teach me how to conduct a plot. And again, an off, an off they walk as well, but at a slower pace. There's a bit of drama with how Alia stroke the Baron leaves the room. And I think it's kind of funny how Alia leaves the room, just in relation to how Irulan has just gone there. But we've basically raised the ante quite a bit here at the end of this chapter, and we've gone from murder, the strong desire of Ghanima to murder Farad'n, coupled with Alia's desire to get Ghanima married to Farad'n, that can work. We can get a mutually exclusive. They're not mutually exclusive. We can work together. That we can get you married, and then you can murder him. And then the insanity of this, as it moves along, means that they're going to have to get witnesses. To observe this, and that according to Ghanima, we'll have to murder them all too, and that nobody seems to be particularly bothered by that. The other interesting thing I was just thinking about was that we'll prepare the formal charter of betrothal. We'll have the signatures witnessed by the proper assemblage from the great houses. We were told previously it takes I think they only get together. It takes them about 5 years to get together. And I was wondering how that would work, but then I thought probably ambassadors and things like that on the planet, So there we go, a very fast sort of dialogue heavy chapter with some very interesting little things in it, and I suppose the resolution of how this is going to go, how the wedding plans are going to go forward, with Ghanima's plans to murder Farad'n, Alia being fine with it, Irulan being fine with it, and potentially this murderous, could we call it a murderous wedding, or we will have many, huge potential consequences, and could probably turn the whole empire against them. This kind of thing, But yeah, I'm very good. I said, always just to remind you that this is a 9-year-old talking here. That this murderous attitude, and it should make you go, "Oh wow, this is a bit," as I said, the way Frank's put it here, that Ghanima speaking with the voice of a Fremen child piled horror upon horror by the studied maturity of her words. It should be quite, this is it's a bit much, And instead of these two, shall we call them the adults in the room, if you like, kind of placating, discussing this, trying to, figure some way through this with this child. They've basically figured out some way of letting her be murderous. It's almost like everybody's getting what they want in a funny kind of way. And Ghanima very much sort of saying everything out loud to point out how utterly mad it is, I think, for Irulan's benefit. But definitely, I think a little bit of sizing up as well within this chapter between Ghanima and Alia / the Baron, and again this consideration by Alia. Have I been exposed, if you like? Does she know this kind of thing? And of course she does. And we see that the tragedy of it as well, the pity, the sadness, that Ghanima has for Alia, and of course the fact that it could possibly happen to her as well, as the awareness of that. you know. So I think it's a great wee chapter. Again, very fast, not too much for us to look up or chat about tonight, I'm afraid. Just drives the action on, sets up some stuff, some tensions, possibilities, what's going to happen. How's the what are we going to see with this wedding? Let me just catch up with your comments, folks. Exchange it for the black of a Fremen betrothed. The yellow as a Fremen morning color reflects the relationship to the light of Eos. What are you trying to say? What do you think is the significance of Irulan dressing like Alia? I was wondering that. I think that they've got formal clothes maybe for mourning and stuff, and that there is a period of mourning going on. But I thought it was a bit of solidarity, if you like, that Irulan would come in, and I got the sense to show solidarity with Alia, if you see what I mean, Chaya, with this attempt to get um, Ghanima on side. You know, that's what I figured anyway. But it's I certainly feel that Irulan's on Alia's side in this, up until a point where I think Irulan really hasn't thought things through. And as you pointed out earlier, her actions are a bit strange in this. Um, I suppose there's a couple of things that we don't get to hear within the chapter. We don't get to hear the Fremen expletives. We don't get to hear the latest letter um, from Farad'n as well. Frank's doing a lot of this at the minute in the books. In the book where we're at, he's doing little bits where, did you hear something? You know, basically think we're not finding out things, we're being told about them, but we're not getting to hear them, which is a good wee technique because it leaves it up to our imaginations, doesn't it? It makes us wonder what's going on. And so we're pushing towards the back end of the book now. We're starting to pick up the pace a wee bit. And I think you can get that from chapters like this. But the next chapter, we're going to return to Leto. And I think it's, yeah, but I think, I dare say we're going to have two chapters next because the one after is very short. It's basically 2 pages. So that'll be, again, as we were saying about these, a few individual chapters of a certain length, but we have a whole bunch of them coming up that we'll be able to double up. So next week's we're going to have chapter 41 and 42. You know, not right? Yes, indeed. So I quite like this next one from the Book of Krios. That's Krios the Titan. But yeah, there we go, folks. Let me just catch your comments. Reflects the relationship to the light of Eos. Yes, and I was talking about that in the previous chapter as well. Chaya Rivka saying, what do you think is the significance of Irulan dressing like Alia? I was saying I think it's kind of just to put on a united front, I think, with Alia in relation to what they're chatting about here. Irulan knows the Bene Gesserit lore. Why doesn't she suspect Alia of abomination? I'm not too sure. I always get the sense that Irulan's a Bene Gesserit, but not a very good one. Carlos was saying, China, there's probably a good reason Irulan wasn't a Reverend Mother. There we go. That's kind of, well, that's the reason. There's probably a good reason there that, as Carlos has said, I think that's it. That Irulan's not that good at this sort of stuff. And again, that she's probably been trained for a very particular role within the royal household and has Bene Gesserit training, but she was most definitely a pawn of theirs. And I often get the sense that, I don't know if it's perhaps her personality, her character, we get the sense that she's a very good intriguer, if you like. She's very good at the Machiavellian kind of stuff, the life in the court, which can be quite dangerous. But I always got the sense that she just wasn't very good. She wasn't very adept at the Bene Gesserit training. She had, again, she tried voice. It doesn't work. And again, being the Emperor's daughter, the very best should be available to her. If we get the sense that and I did get this, that I think that Gaius Helmohaim is responsible for some of her training in the same way she's responsible for some of Jessica's. Then you could get the sense of what sort of ability she should have, and she doesn't. She's as a threat, her main weapon is poison, isn't it? So far, um, but she's not. I don't think she, in terms of how would we put it? She is a dangerous character, but she's not that dangerous, if you see what I mean. And she's certainly not deadly in the way that we talk about Jessica, for example. By far, I suppose, the weakest character in the room here. But again, I think meant to be the voice of reason. But that's why I was saying the chapter title is the three murderous ladies of the Royal House of Atreides. They're all pretty murderous in this, and Irulan I'm not excluding in that statement at all. That's why I kind of enjoyed the chapter. I thought it was quite fun. If you see what I mean, Giant saying true, but she's a born and bred political. Yes, indeed. It's a different type of dangerous, if you like. I get what Chaya said is that she should be wise to this kind of thing. But I think the things that would give abominations away would be the minutiae. I think that kind of thing, the level of detail that maybe she's not very good at observing. I don't know. But I just got, again, possibly why Irulan's talents head towards history. I just got the sense that she was a bit rubbish at being a Bene Gesserit, if you see what I mean. Level 1 or something like that. But yes, and again, people get stuff wrong. Quite a lot of people get things wrong in these books. I suppose it's again, what do I know? What do I think someone else knows? If I act on this, well, are they getting it right? I suppose, if you see what I mean. And it's a conversation that would create an absolute mess for the Atreides. If Ghanima gets what she wants, they do it in the way that Alia wants, and obviously at this point, I don't believe that Ghanima is prepared or would kill all the witnesses. That's her exposing to Irulan what would happen, basically. And it shows, I think, the part of mostly what's going on in this chapter is to expose what Ali is really up to, I think, in some ways to Irulan. But it exposes the fact that to Irulan, Ali would happily have a whole bunch of people from the great houses of the Empire murdered just for her to get, to cover this up, this kind of thing. As poor Leto and I thought, God's below. Yeah, she's an abomination. She's mental. It's the Baron. Absolutely mad. But don't try to teach me how to conduct the plot. So again, this is Alia leaving here, the Baron leaving, possibly thinking that they're in cahoots with Ghanima, that they're at this point working together. And that may be the appearance of it, but it's not really the case, is it? I certainly don't think Ghanima would, whereas the Alia would be prepared, Alia the Baron would be prepared to murder all these witnesses. I don't think Ghanima would, but I think that's the whole point here. She's exposing the necessity of that if Alia gets what she wants. It's crazy. As I said, it shifts the conspiracy here to commit murder. By the end of it becomes a conspiracy to commit mass murder, which is not a smart thing. And was it Chaya pointed out, I think, that Ali is not Alia wouldn't want to destroy House Atreides. That's something that the Baron would want here, and I think this is a good way of him getting it to happen. So it's a very interesting chapter. It's a fast-paced, dialogue-heavy. On the surface, it would seem perhaps not too much going on, but I think there's plenty in it. And I just found it wonderfully murderous. And again, a bit of an eye-opener, an insight into this universe, and even the fact that you could declare Canley. We don't need to bother with that. Canley exists to protect the little people in a funny kind of way, if you see what I mean. So it's that feuds and vendettas between houses don't kick over into the general population, and they can't be bothered to do that. Everyone, the whole empire knows how we must feel, and this coming from Ghanima. So it's kind of as in many ways it's one there's more going on there than it appears, and I think it's as much as Ghanim's moving forward with her plot, Ali is moving forward with her plot. There's a real effort here to expose um, Alia's thinking and what she's up to here. I think. Pardon me. I get a wee drink here. Chelsea, I enjoyed the chapter two. Gania's angry tunnel vision from hypnotized grief. This is the thing is it's all that's the other thing we've got to remember is that Leto's not dead and that this is all, as you say, hypnotized. It's a self-created delusion. Which is the other thing we've got to remember. The Baron has pretty much full control of Alia's thoughts and words, and Irulan is ineffective in all ways. A tragedy of errors. Yes, indeed. And I think that's the fatigue there that Alia is experiencing. That's Alia whenever the Baron's popping through. And I think that's got to be the accumulation of her not getting sleep, with his personality taking over, her perhaps dealing with the madness of it all. But it's a cumulative effect. Goodness, I've had fatigue I've gone so far beyond any kind of safe sleep amount of sleep. It's not funny, and fatigue takes you quite quite a while to get over fatigue, if you see what I mean. um, Bit like jet lag in a kind of way, I suppose. But oh goodness gracious, I hate fatigue, and fatigue. I have a sleep disorder. Fatigue there's a consequence of it. Most of the time, it doesn't bother me too much, and I just get on with my life. But there's a point where if I'm not getting sleep, that starts to accumulate, and I start to become a bit of a gibbering maniac, and I really don't like it at all. So I'm not a fan of fatigue, and it really does mess with your head and your thinking and your perception, especially your perception of things and sounds and stuff like that. But yes, indeed, a tragedy of errors. Yeah, it's one of those things where, again, as much as all of these characters that we have in this Dune universe, they've got so amazing abilities and skills and training. They don't always get things right, and I suppose it's one of the really good things about the Dune series that I like. I've always said one of its great strengths is its characterization. That ultimately all these and it's probably what Frank's trying to tell us all along about Paul Atreides and Leto, is that, well, not with Leto soon, but is that they're human, and that as much as we see all these abilities and these incredible heroes and all this kind of stuff and skills and Kwisatz Haderachs and whatnot, they are human beings who act like humans and make human mistakes. It's just that they can be amplified. So it's a big part of the Dune series. We've given the quotes a couple of times. I don't have them exactly, but the real heart of the Dune series, the questions that you ask, that Frank wants you to ask, is that what does all of this say about us? Actually, I must dig them out again at some point. But it's the human aspect of it that I particularly enjoy, especially I've always said Ali is one of my favorite characters, and here's a character who's actually the character that I really like has been subverted by another character, and we're getting to see the full tragedy of her played out here. And as I said, I've always been and always am very, very sympathetic to Alia, in terms of cause and effect, the sins of the father, the sins of the son, this kind of thing. She is a very tragic, very, very tragic character. as tragic characters go. Well, listen, there we go, folks. I have a crazy week ahead of me here at the minute. We're off to do a few things and run about like headless chickens. I'll be back next Thursday as usual for 10 o'clock with two chapters for you next time. And that's a definite because one of them's only 2 pages. So there'll be chapters 41 and 42 of Children of Dune. And then hitting the summertime, like I was saying, I'll have a wee bit of free time coming up after the following week. Hopefully, we'll start throwing up a few other little bits and pieces for the science fiction station between the book club episodes during the week, and hopefully we'll start doing a wee bit of our A to Z the sci-fi as well. So there we go, folks. And if you're out and about in the world, folks, whether it be riots in LA or riots in Larne or join the group, look after yourselves, take it easy, be safe, as the man says, pretty much. Keep your head down. Rubber bullets aren't made of rubber. As another one, I'll let you know we have a long history of them in this country. But I hope everything's okay, folks. For you, look after yourselves, and especially folks here at the moment. There's a bit of a silliness going on, and hopefully a bit of bad weather also should sort it out. I think. But take care, folks. We'll see you at Thursday at 10 o'clock GMT +1 next week for two more chapters of Children of Dune. So I'll say all the very best and take care. Good night, folks. Bye-bye. Bye.